lights in the trees, a trick of the frost, a ghost on the breeze. But I saw a mirror older than me, staring through time like it wanted to speak. The forest went silent, the world held its breath. Something was watching beyond life and death. We stepped through the green, boots breaking the seal, not chasing a light, but something too real. I came back with salt on my skin, my mind split wide where the storm got in. They call it a test, but I know the deal. History blinks beneath the green veil.
And welcome everyone to the premiere of Chapter 1, The Green Veil, which is actually based on a upcoming book, Rendlesham Veritas Obscura Echo Protocol, based on the True Lies, Home of the Shield, Jack Barrett, which is the main character. Correct, John? And welcome, John, to the premiere here of Green Veil.
Yes, glad to be here. And yes, the name of the character is Jack Barrett.
Now, I know you for quite some time when you were doing the Phenomenon show with Linda Moulton Howe. I've gotten to know you over the years. I know your background pretty much. Rendlesham, the incident that happened in the UK, Christmas time, 1980. Now, this is a fictionalized series, limited series. It's 22 chapters, which will end on Christmas Eve. And I'm sure there's a reason for that. So it's fictionalized, but it's inspired by Rendlesham. Give us a little background of what people can expect to see in this 22 chapters.
Well, when I put it together, it started one way and it ended up finishing another. And the whole idea behind this was, as other things that I've talked about over the years, and I'll be coming out with a book in the fall with Toby Martinez, which is going to be nonfiction. It's going to lay out everything that's happened to me. Even in that book, there's some things that I won't be able to talk about directly.
Why is that though? Why?
It's because directly for two reasons. One, most people won't believe it, even if I provide evidence. And within the nonfiction book that I put out in the fall, everything will be cited and have evidence. But this particular book, when you do science fiction, you don't have to do that. And the trick is just to get people to like it and follow it and believe it's science fiction. So within this, there's going to be a lot of things that I couldn't put based off of certain things that went on, whether I'm restricted or, people won't accept it even if I provided proof. So this is a book that's going to tell a 22-chapter story about the incident itself, but it's going to be based on science fiction.
Interesting. So it's also animated, everyone. This is an animated 22-part series. And we're about to see the first episode. But before we do that, you say it's science fiction, but it's actually based on true occurrences that happened at Rendlesham, right?
Right. That's why part of the title says True Lies, because it's truth by admission. So much of the incident hasn't been filled in properly. That's part of what I'm going to try to do here in the book in the fall, fill in some of the missing pieces. But a lot of different things that happened and different people's involved and stuff, they've left out certain details. Certain things have been left out by the government, some of the people that were involved. And even with this opening tonight, you'll see where hypothetically this is what could take place in a hearing. I have been asked to appear, and so far I haven't gone up there. There's some rumors they're going to subpoena some people in the future, and it's going to be called a non-hostile or a hostile list. And I clearly wouldn't go up there on the terms that they laid out, what they wanted done, plus the fact that Congress is a joke anyway, in my opinion. So,
okay, before we show this, there was one thing that you brought up, that something changed when you were writing this. What was that?
Well, the first 11 chapters are the same. It's the last 11. And I had it a different way with what could happen and everything. And I ended up going back and changing it a lot closer to the process of what I've acquired, put together through research and some hypnosis and some other things, where not saying how this will play out will ever happen.
Yeah, no spoilers. I don't want to know no spoilers.
No will ever happen for real. But within those last 11 chapters, it could hypothetically, some of that could actually play out in the future.
I also, just based on the intro video, well, first of all, the music is exceptional. I really like the music, the soundtrack.
Yeah, Keith Surlock and his Rosewood Studios that he does put a lot of this together. So, you know, my hat's off to him, to the different things that we've done, and we've worked back and forth together and stuff. So he's done a heck of a job. And, you know, it's not easy to do this. It's a lot easier in today's world, but it's still not easy to do. So.
All right. So without further ado, why don't we play chapter 1, which is the Bureau or the hearing. You mentioned something about him, but that's enough. I don't want to even go any further. I just want to watch this, and everyone else watch it. If you're listening on KGRA on the radio side, the audio side, make sure to go to KGRA's YouTube page, Facebook, Rumble, KGRA DB. Also on X, it's at Global Radio Live. So just in case you're listening right now, you're going to want to see the video, because that's what really the visualization and putting this all together. I think this is going to be outstanding. So looking forward to it. So let's do it right now.
Welcome. Tonight, we will cover the moment when silence was broken. Before the phenomenon fractured reality, before time became a weapon, one man stepped into the light to expose what others buried in shadow. This chapter begins not in a forest, but in a secure hearing room beneath Washington, D.C., where retired Air Force Sergeant Jack Barrett testifies about the most covert operation in human history. What he reveals will challenge memory, defy logic, and ignite everything to come.
Whispers in the blackened skies, echoes through the dreamless night. A mirror held beyond our sight. The first hello, the longest lie. Perhaps the stars were never far. Perhaps the end was just the start. We touched the void, it touched our hearts. A secret call we dared not fight. An enigma in the fading light. A question written in our minds. We crossed the threshold, left behind. To wonder, to find. Beyond the mist, beyond the trees. A voice that sang what none could see. First contact is an ancient key. Unlocking who we're meant to be. Beyond the mist, beyond the trees, a voice that sang what none could see. First contact is an ancient key, unlocking who we're meant to be. voice that sang what none could see. First contact is an ancient key, unlocking who we're meant to be.
The chamber lights dimmed as the witness took his seat. Cameras were forbidden. What followed would be transcribed, redacted, buried, yet ripple through time like a stone dropped in black water. The room was not a standard Senate hearing hall. This was a CCF, secure compartmented information facility, buried deep beneath the Capitol. The temperature inside was cold, almost intentionally uncomfortable. The thick, steel-reinforced walls were designed to repel electronic surveillance. Every few feet, recessed sensors blinked quietly. The hearing was convened by the United States Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Seated among them, silent, heavy with presence, were the full members of the Gang of Eight. The Speaker of the House, the Senate majority and minority leaders, and the top chairs and ranking members of both intelligence committees. They did not speak. They observed. Every figure at the table represented the machinery of national survival, and they were about to be confronted with a truth they could no longer control. At the center table sat Jack Barrett, retired USAF technical sergeant, and his attorney, Michael Rourke. The sergeant-at-arms approached with a worn leather Bible. "Please stand and raise your right hand." Jack and Rourke stood. "Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" "I do," Jack said, steady. "I do," Rourke confirmed. They sat. The gavel struck sharply. Jack leaned into the microphone. "Madam Chairwoman, honorable members of the committee, before we proceed, I ask you to remember this. This isn't just about lights in the sky or classified projects. This is about human lives." He paused, gathering their attention. Men and women, soldiers, airmen, scientists, were exposed to phenomena they didn't understand. Some have died without explanation. Others have lived but not unchanged. What we encountered in Rendlesham was not an isolated incident. It was a doorway. And it wasn't open to study the unknown. It was opened to weaponize it. Jack placed his hands flat on the table. The human factor, the suffering, the exposure, the silence, was not an accident. It was the cost of ambition. Rourke leaned slightly into his own mic. "You are not merely stewards of classified information. You are stewards of consequence." The room grew still. Senator Maria Ortiz, chairwoman, began. "Mr. Barrett, please tell this committee what you encountered." Jack's voice, steady but loaded. "December 26th, 1980, 0300 hours, RAF, Woodbridge, Suffolk, England." Jack described the lights, red, blue, white, cutting through the black mist. The oppressive weight of static, the unnatural distortion of sound and sensation. "We believed it was a crash. But there was no wreckage, no fire, no debris." He leaned forward slightly. Instead, there was something else. Senator Halverson scribbled on his notepad. Senator Graham pressed, "Are you suggesting you experienced telepathic communication?" "I'm reporting what I experienced, Senator." Graham pressed harder. "Hallucination, then?" Rourke calmly interjected. "Objection. The witness is not offering speculative diagnosis." "Sustained," said Ortiz. Jack answered anyway. "No hallucination. The communication was direct, intentional." Jack opened a binder labeled Project Condin, declassified. He tapped the page. "British Ministry of Defence findings. Exposure to UAP radiation may result in cognitive confusion, physiological symptoms, and altered states of perception." He switched to a digital excerpt from the White House Office of Science and Technology. "Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space." Jack let it settle. That's no longer theory. It's public record. Senator Voss asked sharply, "Are you telling us the United States had this technology in 1980? Jack's tone hardened. "I'm telling you it was tested, and we were the instruments." Jack placed his sealed medical file forward. "After the encounter, I developed cardiac deterioration consistent with radiation-linked damage. Emergency open-heart surgery followed." He looked at them evenly. "Others suffered neurological decay, chronological dislocation." Jack's voice softened. The colonel who oversaw the third night said it bluntly. If what happened here ever went public, it would change the way people viewed reality itself. The silence thickened. Jack could feel it, the growing dread no one dared name. Senator Halvorsen leaned back heavily. "Why now, Mr. Barrett?" Jack's eyes burned with resolve. "Because the timeline is collapsing. Because the technology we encountered, the consciousness behind it, is no longer dormant. It is moving." He leaned in sharply. "And if you think the phenomenon is waiting for congressional approval before it changes reality again," Jack's voice lowered to a dark whisper, "you're already too late." Jack's voice remained steady as he continued. "The technologies seeded in Rendlesham, the manipulations of space-time, the experiments against Soviet assets, have quietly matured." He paused. "Today, elements of those technologies are fully operational, weaponized, and all without your consent." Michael Rourke stiffened slightly beside him. The scientists involved, the original architects of Operation Echo Frame, did not stop. They found new sponsors, private contractors. They moved underground. Jack's voice became a blade. "They are no longer studying the unknown. They are engineering it." A long, frozen silence fell. Jack let it stretch. Behind the mirrored glass, he knew. Decisions were already being made. And so, with one voice, Jack Barrett reopens a door that was never meant to be unlocked. The phenomenon is moving again, and the countdown has already begun. That's it for tonight. Hopefully, you enjoyed it.
All right, John, that was just amazing. And I'm not surprised coming from you, so direct and to the point. And it also touches on the stuff that's been coming out recently, with the possibility that there was some top secret projects going on involving military bases, military personnel. Now, of course, this first chapter is set in the hearing, and it looks like it's going on in a skiff with congressional members. Am I getting the vibe right with that?
Right. If you were going to do a classified hearing, and I'm not giving away exactly how they do it, it's just a kind of a creation that comes close to like what would go on if they did it behind closed doors in a classified brief. And that something I had to do it this way because it's something that would happen as far as the way they would handle certain things. Even though I'm not a big fan of everything that they talk about of value goes behind closed doors, but I did set it up with the way this would actually play out if it was for real, where if there was going to be certain information provided and certain sensitive stuff, it would go behind closed doors. And even with the Gang of Eight being mentioned, they actually wanted me to come up to DC, meet with the Aero Committee for real, and meet with the Gang of Eight. So I turned it down. I know people will go, why? Because again, they're not being honest about everything that's going on. And then one of the things stipulations was it was going to be involve an NDA, and you couldn't have talked about what went on up there anyway. So I just wasn't, I did not want to go up there. And this whole thing has turned into a dog and pony show with trust us, there's stuff there and everything else. But I will say the last week has been interesting because now there's people coming out and saying a lot of what's been going on with Tic Tac and other stuff is actually technology, which within this science fiction, it'll be laid out exactly what that technology is that they're relating to within what they just came out and said. Now, the interesting thing is this probably won't be the nuts and bolts people in ufology won't like this very well, but I'm just telling these guys, you got to change the way you've been conditioned for 30 plus years on what we're really dealing with, why the government's covering up. In my opinion, my humble opinion is you've been fed a bill of goods that's not exactly what's going on. And as much as I've tried to dig in declassified documents within the book coming out, the nonfiction and everything else, and I'm in the middle of FOIA right now with MOD and the United States government. And I've asked them some very to the point questions. And the first response back I got from inside the United States government was, oh, we can't talk about this. We have to send you to another location. So I've got to resubmit it. The MOD, I filed 7 or 8 so far. And 7 of the 8 I haven't gotten a response back from. Number 8 went all the way to the head of the department, which James Worrell from England said, when that goes to that level right away, which I've done FOIA before, it usually means it's going to get a D notice. So I've really zeroed in on technology, what's going on and how this all can play out. And it plays out in this science fiction book too.
See, here's the issue that I have. You suffered a life-threatening medical condition as a result of your experience at Rendlesham. To me, it would be easier for the government to say, well, we don't know what exactly happened there, because if they admit, and I don't think they will, even in a classified hearing, they're not going to say, well, you were, what your experience was a result of this top secret project that we were doing on our own military personnel. They're held liable because they knew they were doing it. You pretty much, you guys, I hate to say it like this, but like human guinea pigs based on an experiment that they were doing. And as a result, you suffered, like I said, a serious medical issue. So I don't even see them trying to be responsible and be held accountable for what happened.
Well, that's the whole issue with Congress. They very few have code word sensitive clearance, which most people won't even know what that is. And this appears to fall into that type of classification. And so they're fishing right now too, for the most of them. And the thing that's sad is when they come out, even like they just came out this week and talked about how we're at the 3rd generation of the Tic Tac now. But this was a congressman that all of these nuts and bolts UFO people are putting their hats on now, saying, well, he would know, he saw it. But he didn't provide any evidence. So exactly what did he see or what didn't he see? Right. So the science fiction book's going to introduce people to the stuff. The nonfiction book is going to lay out with documents and stuff that no one's ever seen. In fact, some of the work I've been doing, the research I've been doing recently, I've uncovered names of projects that are real that no one's aware of. And that's part of what these FOIAs are about. And for the MOD especially, they normally give what I got for only one of the 8 that I sent in. It took them 7 days to respond back to just that one, letting me know that they're looking into it under FOIA. The other 7 haven't even been answered, and they never take that long. I've got them twisted up right now because I've approached this in a much different way than the majority of the people do. Even like, what is the guy that runs the big one right now? I can't think of his name.
As far as
the FOIA guy, the asshole.
Oh,
Greenwald, John Greenwald.
Yeah, John Greenwald.
Right.
Yeah.
He's asked us about specific things like, well, where's the briefing? You know, what he just came out today where they claim there was no evidence of a briefing. You know what I mean? As far as guys being hazed. I'm not attacking it that way. I attack it based off of technology, and I backdoor it that way, and I ask questions about technology that would have been involved. and I put them in a spot because they have to answer, does that technology exist? And then I ask specific questions about, well, what kind of effects would it have done? Were you testing it in these areas? Were you doing this type of stuff? What different companies were involved? And there's a key company that most people have overlooked. Have you ever heard of the Office of Net Assessment, Bill?
No.
Okay, most people haven't. You ever heard of Andy Marshall?
No.
He was called Yoda. He was the number one guy for exotic technology. And he just passed just recently, but he was involved in this going way back into the 60s, going all the way up till he left the office. I think it was in 2000s. I don't have the notes in front of me exactly. But he did all this work and stuff. And he's involved in all that. And I've got already proof that he was in these projects. And it would blow people's minds getting away from the phenomenon itself and how they're studying that and working on it, the technology that they've gleaned that they're using, and how it can be utilized against obviously enemies of the United States and maybe even on our own population.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you one thing. This was a heck of a way to start the 22 chapter series with episode 1 here, chapter 1. Looking forward to this every week with you, John. I mean, that was pretty intense. And like I said, I was like, wow, this is like what's going on right now. I was like, this, and hopefully you're going to garner some serious attention, not just from this, because I think it will, but also when you release that nonfiction book in November, along with your co-author, Toby Martinez. So,
well, the thing is that attention, the kind of attention I'm looking for is to lay out what I've uncovered with the incident, all the things and people I've been exposed to and met with. And I just want the people to understand there's a different way to look at this. And I'm not going to use the line like, I know people that may watch this or know who I'm talking about. Trust me, bro. Or, yeah, this is a facility that has it. Well, like they just did that. Well, don't you think that, let's just say that is a facility that either had it or may have it. Do you really ever think that you're not, first of all, nobody's going to be able to get in there unless they have the clearance, number one. The number two, they didn't even really reveal what could be in there or what's going on. And even if they mentioned something, they'd have to provide proof that this project or these weapons or whatever exists. So they don't do that. They just come up with the name. And that's the difference. This science fiction book will set the stage somewhat too for the book in the fall, but it's going to be based on stuff that can be researched, right, that can be looked at, that are real, not just this, this is the third generation of Tic Tac and it's a propulsion system. Well, we talk about in the science fiction coming up, there'll be some mention of a propulsion system. And in the main book, it'll show what the propulsion system very well could be. And the key to all this is actually Hal Puthoff. And there was a piece of evidence that was submitted in the hearings with Gresh that was submitted that most people aren't even aware of. And that's part of the piece of the propulsion system itself.
Wow.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of things that if you just stick with nuts and bolts, they have alien bodies or they have this or that, and that's all you want to ask them for, they're never going to tell you. Or they came from Zeta Reticuli and all this other stuff. You're never going to get anywhere with this. But at least I'm going to lay out a map of things for people to look at. And the last time I talked about some of the FOIAs, I didn't lay out how I did it. In this book, I'm going to even show the questions and everything else, to include the last book, the weaponization book that James Worrell and I put out back at the 40th. There was a FOIA in there that got no attention. I actually asked the MOD, were they working and developing technology off of UAPs? And they said they were. They classified 99% of it. They blacked it all out, but they admitted to me in a FOIA that the UAPs are real and that they're working on technology to utilize, off of UAPs, weaponization of it. And even Condyne goes into that, which will be mentioned in this science fiction stuff.
There was on the table that said Condyne.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Right. But Condyne holds a lot of facts in there that people don't even want to consider because it's not nuts and bolts.
Right.
And here's the craziest thing. Condign came out in 2006. All the lead researchers, including even Nick Pope, which is always one of the problems I've had with him, because I called him on it and he said, he talked about it at one point. He never did until Encounters. And that was after I found it when I scoured the Condign report myself. In there, it identifies the people involved in Rendlesham were exposed to UAP radiation. That was part of my settlement I got from the government. And yet all the researchers never found the fact that Rendlesham was mentioned in this secret report that came out of the UK, that even like David Clark, who actually got the report out, missed it. So Rendlesham was mentioned in this report, and it goes into frequencies, technologies, and everything else that are available and what they're working on. So these next this whole 22 chapters will set the stage for how do I want to word this? It's going to show exactly what could happen with this technology and the culmination of how it could affect mankind going forward.
See, that's like a major tease for 21 more. I'm like, now I want to see the rest, because I'll tell you one thing. And now that you said everything you mentioned, I may have to go back and watch it again to see if there's things that I missed that I have to pick up, the little subtle things that are going on, because I'm sure there is, and I'm gonna have to probably watch it again. And I'm probably
if you go and rewatch chapter 1, there's a little bit about an intense debate back and forth between the people in Congress and myself and my attorney, which it's supposed to be Pat Frasconia, the guy that helped me. But anyway, there's a little bit of an exchange about how what we encountered may be getting ready to unleash itself on the world going forward. And I can tell you this, based off of my hypnosis from 1988, there's a good possibility the phenomenon that we encountered could become completely active in the near future. And the effects it could have on humanity are going to be very interesting. And I'll leave it at that for now, because I don't want to say too much more. But from this point on, it's going to build to where this is all going. It's going to get more and more intense, especially 12 through 21. So, and then 22 is going to be Christmas Eve. And when that airs, everybody's going to understand why. It'll be a day earlier than normal, because it's going to be every Thursday for the next 21 weeks. But after the 22nd one's going to air on Christmas Eve for a reason.
Okay. Well, next week, stay tuned for chapter 2, Fracture Line. I don't want any. You want to give a little tease, or you just want to?
You go ahead and give a little tease. You got the narrative in front of you.
You want? Because I have it.
You can just give them a teaser off the narrative I gave you.
It looks like the main character is Jack Barrett. So he returns back to where it all began, and that's at Rendlesham. And again, I don't even want to read what's on there, because it's like, well, I think I'll just leave it at that. Just the character goes back to where it all began, Rendlesham. Because you just get ready for the punchline, what's coming. The forest wasn't just haunted, it was activated. Well, we'll have to tune in next week. Remember, the show airs Thursdays, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch on KGRA's YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and on X, it's at Global Radio Live. So for John and I, we'll see you all again next week. Looking forward to it, and make sure to tune in. So until then, have a great night, and we'll see you next week.